We have a lot to talk about with hockey. It seems like free agency opened up and so many things just happened. And you think that the Islanders were the lead team to get the big-time player. Everybody thought Johnny Gaudreau was on his way to the island. And Johnny Gaudreau is now on his way to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Yes, I said it. The Columbus Blue Jackets. $60-some-odd million contract. Everybody thought that if he leaves Calgary, the only team he'd be heading to is the Island. The Islanders struck out, and you think about Lou Lamariello. I'm not questioning what Lou Lamariello did in the offseason so far, getting rid of Barry Trotz, one of the best coaches in the NHL, bringing in a rookie coach in Lambert. I'm not going to take shots at him for that because he's done it before. If you remember, with Jacques Lemaire, with the Devils, and then they brought in Robertson, and Robertson won a Stanley Cup. But it's still kind of scary when you look at going into the offseason and the one piece that the Islanders have been trying to go after is an offensive player, and they don't land him, Speedy.
As far as Gaudreau's initial contract, he got a $68 million deal, which I'm actually surprised he kind of got underpaid. I actually thought he was going to be targeting more of a Panarin-type contract. Now, he's been injury-prone more in his career, so maybe that held him back from getting that kind of money. But definitely something that the Islanders, I'm surprised, did not push for, even if they did have to push for a $10, $11 million a year type contract. I'm surprised he took way less money to go to Columbus as it was. He took $15 million less to not go to the Flames, which is very interesting, a team that was just a division winner. So it must have been a bad fallout in that front office for Gaudreau. Columbus, too, a rebuilding team, a kind of a middle-tier team. I'm surprised he would have done that.
Well, it was all about money and years. I think the Islanders were only offering him 5 to 6 years, and that was the problem. I think he wanted to be sure that he was going to get the extension that he wanted, and he didn't get it from the Islanders. And I think the Islanders struck out there. And I mean big time, because now you're going to be fetching and trying to find that other guy to play with Barzal. And who you going to go after? Now, we heard JT Miller at the draft in talks with Vancouver. They struck out on that. And then they went after Romanov. Well, I'm not going to attack that because we don't know what Romanov's going to be with Dobson. It could be a really good fit with the Islanders. But again, they're looking not for defense. They're looking for offense. That is what they need. That's what they were lacking last year offensively. They've struck out in every kind of way. Now, there are some guys that are still out there. Kadri, he is a center. Now, do they move Barzal to the wing position? Do they move Kadri to the wing position to bring him in, give him another offensive style of player? Now, Kadri is not known for his offense. He's not that superstar offensive player like Gaudreau, but he still could give you 25, 30 goals. He gives you a little bit of more speed that the Islanders have been lacking on that first line. That's going to be very interesting to move. Tarasenko, too, is still out there. Now, is St. Louis still interested in moving him? That is another thing. St. Louis played very well last year, and Vladimir Tarasenko had a great year. He really did. He stood out, and he was one of the better players in the second half throughout the NHL. I'm interested to see what the Islanders do and how they maneuver making moves, because there is not many free agents out there that are offensive savvy players. So now they're going to have to really be smart. Lou Lamariello is going to have to be very smart and try to bring in an offensive player, not in free agency, but trade.
Yeah, I think they're really the last one left that's a top guy is Kadri at this point. Nino Niederreiter is another interesting name, a skilled winger, but he's been dealing with a lot of...
He was drafted by the Islanders.
He's also older, and he's been dealing with a lot of injury issues as it is. So if they take a gamble on him, it's probably for a low salary or a short year contract type thing. So I think the Islanders at this point are going to have to keep looking at the trade market too. There are definitely a lot of Western Conference teams they can make trades with. We've seen the Sharks purge a lot of assets. Coyotes, another team I wouldn't be surprised if they start trying to purge some veteran assets too, that maybe the Islanders are definitely target maybe more in quantity than even just going for one big swing like they would have done with Tarasenko, and obviously they tried to do with Gaudreau.
As far as the Rangers are concerned, I don't know what the Rangers are doing either. Their GM that's been there for about a year and a half, and Chris Drury, everybody thought was sensational in the offseason last year. They added Reeves. Reeves probably going back to the Rangers, and they're trying to figure out how the contracts work to bring Reeves back, but they lost big pieces. Andrew Copp was a big part of their face-offs and a big part of their offense in the second half of the season. Ryan Strome, a lot of Ranger fans weren't very excited about him coming back anyways, so I'm sure they're happy he's gone. And then Frank Vatrano, who was one of their best players in the second half of the season. Mott, who was a big part of what this team does offensively on the power play and certain aspects of their offense. So they lost a lot of pieces. Now, Capo Caco looks like he's negotiating a deal. Justin Braun's gone too. So they're losing a lot of pieces. And what they gained was Vincent Trocheck. He's a good player. He's a second-line, third-line center. And he's a good face-off winner, something that the Rangers were lacking. But they had Andrew Copp. They had guys that can win face-offs, that play very well at the face-off draw in the second half. So why not bring back the same guys that you had last year that helped you get to the Eastern Conference Finals?
I would have been good with Trocheck if they were able to keep Copp too. Like, that's the combo I think that would have been perfect, just because of the Rangers' major flaw with face-off, not only last year, but years past too. It's been their big weakness as an organization since I've started watching hockey. So even if they lost the other wings that you mentioned in the defense, because I'm not as worried about the defense, because you got Zach Jones, who played a little bit last year, and Nils Lundqvist is a nice young player too that could be a fill in that third spot nicely. So I'm not as worried about losing Braun, and good riddance Patrick Nemeth, who got traded as well. The wingers, I think they could have replaced a little easier. A player like Copp is very difficult to replace, because not only does he win faceoffs, he's a versatile guy who can play both center and wing, and he's a guy that hits too, which the Rangers don't have a lot of guys that can do that either when it comes to their forwards. So if they were able to get both of them, Trocheck, who's a little more of a skilled player overall than Copp, I think, in terms of his speed, in terms of his stick handling ability, and has had some good seasons in Florida too when he was a young player. 75 points in 2017-18, had some 50-point seasons as well, playing on their second line with not a lot of talent around him. So I think if they were able to get that, I would have liked it.
They also lost Kevin Rooney, who went to Calgary too,
right,
and that's a big loss too. He's a center. He could play the wing position as well, and he played very well in the playoffs as well when he was on the ice. So they lost a lot of pieces. Now, they did add Turner Ellison. Is he a great player? He played for Detroit last year. We don't know much about him. Andy Welinski, who played for Calgary last year, played well at certain parts of the season, but not any of the players that they lost. He's not Frank Vatrano. He's not even Ryan Strome.
Right.
So they lost a lot of pieces. They lost like 5 pieces. Now, they added some goaltending help. They did lose Grigoriev. They traded him for 3 draft picks. Yep. But they added Domingue, if everybody remembers, Louis Domingue on the Pittsburgh Penguins, what he did last year against the Rangers.
Nearly beating the Rangers, yes.
In the playoffs. And they brought in Halak, who will be their backup to Shesterkin. Halak, who's been a good backup goaltender in the NHL. I think the Rangers are done. I think the Rangers spent their money. Now they just have to negotiate a deal with Capo Caco, and I think they're going to move on with this team. They have some young players that are going to be called up this year that they like. So maybe losing these pieces, you'll get a chance to see some of the younger players. Right. The Rangers are already one of the younger teams in the NHL. So maybe they take 2 steps back this year because of the young talent that they're going to have to bring up to figure things out. So I know Ranger fans think that this team's going to be better. They gave a lot of money to Vincent Trocheck.
I think Trocheck's contract was definitely fine, but I think for the net loss of 4 other players, there's a lot to not like about that, unless they have some kind of trade up their sleeve I don't know about, but still, that's going to be very hard
Andrew
to
Copp got the same amount of money as Vincent Trocheck. Right. $5,625,000.
So why not bring both of them back? Even if you overpay a little bit. The Rangers right now only have 4.8, so you shed one more piece or have another guy restructure his contract or something like that, or don't bring in 2 backup goalies.
Ryan Strome got $5 million. Vatrano, who I thought is better than Ryan Strome, got $3 million. Kevin Rooney got $1 million. The other players, around the million area, $750,000.
Yeah, Nemeth was in a trade. Like, he's making 1.5 or something like that. And good riddance to him anyway. And Justin Braun, I think, got a veteran's minimum with the Flyers to go back there.
Yeah, $1 million. It's so interesting to see, but really the talk is Lou Lamariello and what he hasn't done. And Lou needs to figure that out, because if you look at the big picture where the Islanders are and where the Islanders thought they were going to be at free agency, they had their chance at Gaudreau. Everybody thought that Calgary was going to re-sign him. He was there for the taking. They didn't give him what he wanted. And unfortunately, now the Islanders are sitting on their hands, wondering where they're going to go next. What is their second option or third option or maybe even fourth option to bring in a player that's going to help Barzal moving forward?
It seems like the primary option right now is Tarasenko, but based on the news last week, too, you can't rule out Patrick Kane either. I know he's been linked to the Rangers, too, for whatever reason.
Patrick Kane is definitely a piece that the Islanders could bring in. He's a little bit on the older side,
right,
but he's 33 years old. I think he has another 2-3 good years left. You put him with Barzal, he adds a little bit of speed, a dynamic offensive player that can pass the puck, give Barzal less of the time holding onto the puck, but they're both puck handlers, being fancy with the puck. So it would be very interesting to see Patrick Kane on the same line as Matthew Barzal. That would be fun. And you heard Patrick Kane 2 years ago at the All-Star game saying that Barzal is one of those special players and one of the fastest players he's ever seen. Over the years, I've known Patrick Kane personally. I know he likes players like Matthew Barzal's talent, because players like that, a.k.a. Panarin, are guys that he has played with and understands how to get the puck to. It'll be very interesting to see what the Islanders do moving forward this offseason.